Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to talk about average rate of change, and I have three examples for you here today. So when a question asks you to find the average rate of change, they ask you to use the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now you might have learned it a different way. You might have learned it as delta y over delta x, but it's asking for the same thing regardless of the language or the notation we use. Now, when they ask for average rate of change, they're asking you over a specific interval to find that rate of change. So they're telling you the x values they want you to use. So in this example, it says find the average rate of change of the function over the interval 2 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 5. So they're telling you when we do our rate of change, which x's to use. That means you can ignore every other x in the problem. So let's do that. Wrote it darker so you can see it. So we're going to use 2 and 5. So I'm going to look at this table and I'm going to completely ignore everything except for the row that has x is 2 and except for the row that has x is 5. I can ignore all the other ones that I didn't circle. And then all I have to do is plug in the values here. Y's go on top, x's go on the bottom. Now it's asking for y2 and y1 and x2 and x1. It doesn't matter which one of these two is y2. Just make sure you're consistent. If this is y2, then this is x2, right? So usually I try to just go in the order the problem has given me here, right? So y2 could be 40 and y1 could be 16 all over x2, which is 2. And x1, which is 5. Now I'm going to subtract both of them and divide at the end. 40 minus 16 is 24. 2 minus 5 is negative 3. 24 divided by negative 3 is negative 8. So the average rate of change for this function is negative 8. Now sometimes when you get these questions, like in number 2, they're going to give you the same setup, but they're not going to give you a table. They're going to give you the equation. And what that means is you have to make your own table. And you don't even need to make all of these values. You just need to make the two x values we care about. So if I make a table here, I'm only going to make two x values, negative 7 and 3. Because I don't care about anything that's happening between those values. I just want to know between negative 7 and 3, what's happening to the y's. Now to get the y's, I'm going to plug in negative 7 into all the x's here and evaluate. And then I'm going to plug in 3 to all the x's here and evaluate. And you can just do this on your graphing calculator, right? You just go to the y equals screen and you type in x squared plus 6x plus 7. And then you go to the table. And remember the table, let me try my best to zoom here. The table has all the values. We don't need all the values. We just need negative 7, which is 14, 3, which is 34. And now that I have the values, let's plug them in the formula. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So that'd be 14 minus 34 over negative 7 minus 3. And let's simplify. 14 minus 34 is negative 20. And negative 7 minus 3 is negative 10. That will reduce to 20 divided by 10 to negatives. Negative divided by negative is positive. So 20 divided by 10 is 2. So the rate of change here is 2. And then finally, our last example for today. Find the average rate of change over the interval negative 2 is less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 2. Instead of giving you a table pre-filled in, or instead of giving you a function that you have to make the table, they might just give you a graph. And it's really the same question, just the graph has the information instead of a table or instead of your calculator. So again, we're going to use only the x values they tell us. So x is negative 2 is right there. And x is positive 2 is right there. I'll make a table now that I know what the values are. So x is negative 2 and y is 1. X is positive 2 and y is negative 1. Let's do our formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 1 minus -1 over -2 minus 2. That's going to be, the numerator is 2, and our denominator is -4. So our rate of change here is going to be -1/2. And graphically, what this means is that if I were to go from the 2 dots I circled, I'm going down 1 and over 2. So down 1 and over 2. And if I'm not there, do it again. Down 1 over 2. Remember, rate of change is just a fancy way of saying what's the slope of the line that connects those 2 points. So the slope of this line is -1/2. A very common rate of change question, especially in Algebra 2, it might give you 1 function, 2 functions, 3 functions. It might give you 3 functions and say, over this interval, which one has the lowest rate of change, or which one is the highest rate of change. And you just have to do this process, and then when you're done, put them in order, or pick the largest, or pick the smallest. So there's really nothing different about the process, except they might ask you to do it multiple times in one problem, over the same interval, or over different intervals. So just be careful, read the question, make sure you're answering what they're asking. A lot of times they're going to ask you to use the same function to find the average rate of change over a bunch of different intervals. So I've showed you everything you need here to be able to do that question. So that's the average rate of change. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.